Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a minute, probably 5 or so days. For me, that's like a month off duty, basically. I know bigger, prominent YouTubers who are like just on hiatus, gone for like half a year is quite a bit, and then we'll do an update video. But I've been making, I have the tendency to make videos every couple days, even on a daily basis, and it's not exactly tiring or anything. It's just me recording some RPG stuff. But I just want to give you guys an update what's been happening behind the scenes. A couple of positive health related things have been going on. Um, Work has been ramping up and then will slow down next week. Um, Also, a couple of mixed controversial aspects regarding solo RPGs. A lot of it has to do with AI, as usual. That's always like the boogeyman for a lot of people, and that's completely understandable. Because my channel, again, I'm a broken record in saying this, but I use AI every so often. This is AI in the background, so this is like my default background image at times for these update videos. But I've lost that interest to play solo RPGs on a daily basis, not entirely, just frequently. I don't know if it's because of work or because of what I'm dealing personally regarding my health, but it's just like I don't have that push. And what typically breaks through the mold is AI, because I would use AI to kind of do all the handling, all the what do you call it, a crutch, and I would just kind of be along for the ride. So what I'm going to try, I don't know if it's tonight or later this week, because I typically film at night. Um, but I'm going to try just an AI guided solo RPG using D&D 5 because D&D 5 is typically the best game to use for GPT because it knows all the rules by heart or by memory, I should say. And I've done that before, and actually it lasted quite a while. That's when, my ultimate dream is just to have a long running campaign I can do for months and months. But I always find it always collapses, or I feel like I'm done with that campaign. But anyways, the last two videos I made were back to basics, which was just a simple dungeon crawl or a overhead map or battle map. Those really do help. They are therapeutic. They do indeed help emotionally. It's just keeping out all the other garbage that's going on in the world and just focusing on the most simplest thing possible. And that is a dungeon crawl using a handful of characters on an easy system, which if it was Maze Rats or my favorite Savage Worlds, I've kind of gone back to this a little bit, kind of going through the book. This is the Explorer's Edition. I have like all the versions, and I always kind of shuffle between any of them, to be honest with you. Uh, but there was also a convention earlier this week that I kind of attended, so that occupied my time. So there's a multitude of several things kind of inhibiting me from making these daily, or I should say, every other day videos, bi-daily videos. But yeah, I'm still here, still working on things. But the next video most likely will be with AI. So as always, I promise to put a label in the title with AI or crutch AI, just kind of make fun of myself for using AI. But I understand completely it will drive away a few of my viewers who are not fans of AI, prefer the nitty gritty analog method of play, which is also a favorite of mine, but I like to swing between the two because I want to cater to my full audience. I know there are people out there who like to see AI being used, and whether it's a simplistic Oracle or a full-on Dungeon Master. I think for the next video, next one shot, or whatever it turns into, I might do a blend. I think it might just be an Oracle, a go-to Oracle quite often, not like a full-on AI where it describes the entire narrative for you in a book, like a Star Wars text crawl, but like just a simple crutch that spits out a few things in somewhat vague terminology related to what my inquiry is. So, starting location, it says you are in a tavern or you are standing in front of an abandoned castle. And the AI knows that the GPT Oracle will know what the engine is, D&D, what the game setting is, if it's low fantasy or high fantasy, if it's cyberpunk, etc. and that it has a party of X amount of people. So that might be the next video because it really does help me at times to get back into something of interest and mainly for solo RPGs. So that's really it. And in terms of in related to Havoc, which is my home house rule system, it's Havoc 5. It's now just called Havoc. It's changed somewhat. Um, it's still a D6 system, but originally a dice pool. Now it's a blend of a dice pool and a degree of success. So basically, before it was the amount of successes required to complete a task called a core check, but now it is a degree of success based on the highest die rolled. Much like, what's a good number? Powered by the Apocalypse. You roll World Dungeons. I used that system in my recent video, which is a personal favorite of mine when it comes to very rules light systems. Very rules light, like no combat rules whatsoever. But basically, a roll of a 4 is a partial success with a setback. A 5 is a standard success, so 5 is still kind of the sweet spot. A 6 is a critical success. You are able to achieve the task, but with an extra narrative benefit. I'm also tinkering with attack and defend as actual core mechanics or core abilities, not just defend and using either hardy or agility for melee slash range, respectively, but actually making them a subset of cores that relate to hardy and agility. So hardy is tied to attack, and agility is tied to defend. No longer have defense, but your hardy, or I'm sorry, your attack is augmented with the weapon, while defend is augmented with your armor. So they're both very similar, but no longer is it based on the type of attack, hardy or agility, melee, ranged. But attack is the overencompassing, is the overarching arching mechanic that covers combat, attacking. So I also simplified enemies that I now call threats. They're based on a level. This is the tough part. This is what kind of got me into a negative groove because last week I was messing with Havoc 5 when I was a dice pool mechanic, and up to today I've been working on it, um, a couple minutes every a few times a day, and I'm up to that point where it's like it's becoming a headache. I don't want to shelve it like I typically do. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to shelve it, come back to it in a few months, which can help, but I'm still confident Havoc can really turn into something great. So enemies are not called threats, which I've done before. I've been jumping between enemies and threats. Threats are simply based on a level. You roll attack to match or exceed a level to land a hit, just one hit. There is no two hits anymore. And when they attack you based on their level, they have a fixed attack level. You roll defend to match or exceed in order to block the hit. So you still do all the dice rolling. But the problem here is their levels. Because if you're rolling a d6 and you have the chance of landing at their level, let's say it's a 5, then your attack can be boosted with your hardy, half of hardy, I'm sorry, half of hardy rounded up, that's your base attack. Half of agility rounded up is your base defend. I forgot to mention that. When you roll the d6 and you roll it and you get a 4, the enemy's threat level is the threat level is 5. You fail. If you hit that 5, you land a hit. Now, I went back to the rules where I went back to the method of where most enemies can take 2 hits, while prominent enemies can take, I'm sorry, most threats can take 2 hits. I still have to get used to that terminology change. While prominent bosses, threats can take 4 hits. So that being said, it may be easier for them to die, vice versa. Is that good? I don't know. I really need to play test it. So down the road, as it stands now, I'm okay with the Havoc rules. But I have to do another quick one-shot dungeon crawl with it to flesh out, play test the system. Things can look good on paper until you actually get to try it out. So I don't want to make the mistake of just saying, okay, it's done. Let's try it in a long campaign. I really dread the rules and thinking, oh my gosh, why did I do that? I'd rather play test it live, you know, making the adjustments as I can. So that's really it, guys. That's all that's going on here. Oh yeah, at the convention, I found this neat little dice roller. It's this um, dice tray. Has this cool skull on top for only a few bucks. Actually, it was pretty cheap. Now, again, I do sincerely apologize for people who are not fans of AI being used in any accordance with solo RPG because it doesn't really become a solo RPG if you're using an AI, but it's just me playing the RPG, so it kind of does fit within the realm of solo RPG. Anyways, that's a totally different argument, and I don't really dabble in right now. But as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one.